Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between a film and TV podcast. We are your hosts. I am Daniel Parra.
And I'm Erwin Trejo.
And number one, thank you so much for listening and watching. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Erwin, what are we reviewing?
Red one.
You know...
Not Red Dawn, not Red Notice.
Dude.
What's the other red one?
The red one? You already made the joke before I did.
Oh,
I was
bad.
actually... Well, no, because I was kind of going to set it up. I was going to be like, Erwin, what's the last book you read?
Like finished?
Yeah.
Goblet of Fire?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember the last time I read one. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question.
That was okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think of another one.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
With this movie, did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
Somewhere between?
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say, right. Or very meh. I'll say that.
I'm somewhere between a rock and a hard place on this one because, like, I thought
Is that the joke?
No.
Oh, okay. Me every 5 seconds. Is that the joke? Is that the joke? Guys, he said that he has like 10,000 jokes for me, and I'm trying to guess right now which ones are.
Well, I feel like I'm going to say that to you one time. It's not going to be true.
Yeah.
But
you're just talking. You're just giving your honest opinion about the movie. I'm like, is
you're
that
like,
a joke?
that's a joke. You're like, that's good.
Dude, that's good. And I'm like, dude.
Everything we review has full spoilers. And, I mean, with this, if you're like, I am dying to see this movie, just know...
I would love to know who.
Yeah, I would also love to know if you loved it. And I got to ask you... Somewhere between in the sense of what? Well, like, did you have an overall positive takeaway from this?
No. But I also can't say that overall I have a negative take on it, too.
Yeah.
It was just so meh and so bland to me.
It was... And I know this isn't really, like, the best critique ever because a lot of people throw, like, sort of a... Well, say more than that, and I will. It's kind of boring.
It's just
like,
but
it's like,
not even to me. It wasn't even boring. Like it was boring, yes, but not the point where I'm like, ugh, I want this movie to be over.
Yeah.
But in the sense of like, I'm just waiting for something to happen because all the characters or the actors that show up, I like these actors.
No, so this has the makings of everything. I was explaining. Somebody asked me because the marketing for this is horrible. By the way, not a lot of people know about it, and I know we complained about that with some movies earlier this year. But the thing is, with this, it has a $250 million budget. So where any of that went, I don't know. I mean, I can't really say that like it. So some of it looks ugly, like really, really ugly.
Yeah,
but
some
then,
things were not great.
But then some of it looks great, like the polar bear. That's awesome. That's barely in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Bear.
I just
Is that
thought,
the joke?
No.
Barely because of the polar bear. No. Oh.
But I just got frustrated because we'll talk about like the one scene where I was like, oh my god. But the story here is originally this was I kept wanting to call it a Netflix original. We were on the phone, like trying
I thought it was a Netflix original.
We were on the phone. I was like, hey, I'm not sure when we're going to review this because I don't know when it goes to Netflix.
Yeah.
And then coming to find out, I was looking up when is Red One on Netflix. It never was. But it was an Amazon Prime original a couple years ago. And Mr. The Rock himself saw Oppenheimer in IMAX, and
who did it?
He said that, like, imagine watching Oppenheimer being like, you know what?
My short film is going to look great in this format.
No, but imagine, like, Red One, my Christmas Santa movie is going to look incredible on the big screen.
Even though I don't show up to set.
And we'll get into all that and how I think that's actually a core component of why this movie does not work that well.
Yeah.
But I think everything's there. When I was explaining the plot to someone, I was like, it's about someone in the ELF, which is funny because it stands for elf. And they go looking for Santa who's missing. And there's like mythical creatures and all of that. And just saying it out loud, I was like, this movie sounds awesome. And then someone that I was explaining to said, that sounds stupid. But I mean, you know, different strokes. But... I gotta ask you, though, with this, do you have anything that really stood out to you?
Oh, like my positive?
Yeah.
I guess the world building of this movie. Just because they introduced a lot of mythical, like, what is it, like, I don't want to say chronicles, mythical
creatures,
like creatures and like stories from like other like regions of the world.
Yeah.
So for example, like of course like Krampus we saw in the trailer, they mentioned the Headless Horseman.
Well, it was cool for the 2
the Christmas
seconds.
Witch, because I totally forgot about that. How there was like a story behind it too. And so it was stuff like that. And so I was like, wow, are they going to introduce more or just enough to the point where I wanted to see another one of this.
Yeah.
Not this type of movie, but not a sequel either. I don't know if I would like to see another sequel, but
I think we've made this joke before, but if it was different and if it was better,
then yeah, of course I would see this movie again.
Yeah. But no, I gotta completely agree that like I thought that the hints of world building here were the best part, but then I think that this movie apes itself from like so many other different movies, and it was driving me crazy. The fact that the coolest thing in this movie I thought is from Ant-Man. It's like whenever the cars like can grow.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. But then I was like, that's an Ant-Man. And then whenever the rock gets small, I was like, that's an Ant-Man.
Oh.
And
I didn't make that correlation.
Because so many different things. Every time I thought of anything positive, I thought that's from a different movie. Rise of the Guardians has all the holiday people too.
Yes,
and like all of them collected. In
you
like
would think that they would do that as well.
Yeah.
But they didn't even like... I understand this focusing on Santa and just like every Christmas element as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like a Christmas action comedy thing.
Yes.
But it can't pick a lane because I feel like it doesn't do really any of the three that well.
Dude, the comedy was just not good.
I gotta ask you something though. Do you even feel like they tried to make jokes?
No, it was just them talking.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were reading the script and like, okay, I'm gonna say this part, and that's it.
Yeah.
And there was no banter with no characters.
And there's a reason why for that, I feel, but like we'll get into why that that they couldn't have any kind of bouncing back.
Do you have any positives? Anything else? Because I can't.
Kind of just went straight into.
Because I'm trying to think of any other positives that
okay. There's a couple things I liked.
Oh, the baby in the beginning.
What baby?
In the stroller when Chris Evans is.
I liked. Okay.
That baby.
I liked when he stole the lollipop,
and I was like, what? Stealing candy from a baby.
Quite literally. Yeah.
That was my thinking. I was like, nice.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they literally did.
They literally did that.
I thought I was really gonna like Chris Evans' performance in this when he first started, at least, and then he kind of just gets. He's kind of the lead of the movie a little bit,
but I
still feel like he gets pushed to the side.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And I thought the beginning was interesting. I thought I was gonna like it kind of when it first started. So I guess my positive is they faked me out, and they were. I liked some of the visual concepts as well, and a couple of the jokes work just because whenever he's like, does the Wonder Woman action figure? I thought that was funny, like that, and then there's one scene at the end I thought was really creative, and it's whenever they actually visually show and not explain how he gets to deliver every present all in one night, and that's how the movie ended. I thought that scene was actually really well done. I thought that I wish the rest of this movie had the energy that those 2 minutes did.
I think anytime J.K. Simmons showed up on screen, he did a great job.
He immediately adds something, which is kind of why I'm a little bit confused, because he got in shape for this movie. Really,
I thought he got in shape for Gotham.
No,
or not Gotham.
For Justice League.
Yeah,
kind of. But then I mean, he
made this movie. Oh, this movie was supposed to come out 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was in production forever ago. This movie was filmed 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and who knows how many like pickup reshoots they did for it, because it does feel like one of those ones where, you know, The Rock, which I really want to postpone our conversation about that, because there's like something to be said about how that just straight up tanked this movie a little bit.
Yeah,
but how they even set it up whenever they're doing the whole mall scene, which I liked too, kind of, before like what you said, what happens when they get in the car.
Yeah, I
liked their weird kind of energy with each other. I thought that The Rock had more chemistry with J.K. Simmons than he ever did with Chris Evans. And I like that. There's one part of this movie I thought was really fun. It's in the middle. It's another thing where I was like, I wish that the entire movie was this, and I don't know what you thought of it, but I do want to ask you. I liked the Krampus world a lot. I loved the prosthetics. I loved the makeup design.
Yeah.
They really went all out in that, and also the design of like his castle and the creatures and everything.
Oh, the gargoyles and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do look. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it just looked like the one part of the movie where I was like, it felt like that D&D movie that came out a while ago, and it just,
like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
yeah.
It just made me wish the rest of it was that, because I could see
Mm-hmm.
what this movie could have been whenever it was doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I also like that part too.
Yeah,
but I don't know, it just wasn't enough.
Well, it's barely in the movie. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
And
I also like the backstory where it's like Krampus and Santa being brothers.
I like all that stuff. Yeah. And I like that this movie also felt like one of those things where they're trying to do world building by like hinting that people have a past with each other.
Yes.
But instead of actually doing it properly, I just kind of felt like I was like, I think you're just saying stuff and I don't really I can't grasp that.
Yeah.
It's whenever world building happens and you're just sort of like, well, I mean, I can see that because you're telling me, but like I can't feel this connection between these people. But I really think that's it for me. I like in terms of positives.
Dude, there wasn't a lot of positives in this movie.
Do you have anything else?
Shoot.
I got one more. I love the design of the snowman. The snowman.
Really? I was gonna say that, but it just looked bad to me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the one
like
part
the
CGI. That's the part where I thought they looked cool.
No, I mean I like the design, yes, but I just think the way it was presented.
The visual of the ice cream truck pulling out of the ocean.
Yeah, that was cool. Yes.
It's just whenever that happened, I was like, not like lean forward like how in the meme, but it's more like, oh, something.
Something's happening. Awesome.
Yeah, because so much of it is so. Okay, no, that's negatives. Do you have any?
No, I genuinely don't have any positives.
Okay, well now I'm gonna ask you. Can you think of your first negative?
My first negative?
Yeah.
Shoot. Honestly, Chris Evans' character.
Him or just the character?
Character and like things that are going on around his family.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy that.
I don't like when people have family problems and it's like.
Yeah, like I just have it like fixed.
Yeah. Like
just be perfect.
No, it's one of those things whenever The Rock's like, I think that I can't see the whole like naughty list thing with people. And honestly, there was something to be said about like Christmas, naughty and nice, about there was like a lesson there, and I just kept thinking, if it were in a movie I cared more for, I would think that this would be a better point.
Yeah.
Whenever they're like, you see everything in so in black and white, and then I kept thinking about, wow, imagine a Santa movie where they had to discuss the dynamics of what's right and wrong, and that'd be cool. That's not exactly what this movie is, though.
But who decides? Is it Santa that decides?
I don't know. They didn't say that. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like that.
I like the idea that Krampus wanted to punish the naughty people.
Oh yeah, that they like took that into their own hands, and then they said they took it too far.
Yeah.
But with that, though, I also agree with you with Chris Evans' character. I don't know what your problem was with like the family stuff. What exactly was there that...
To me, I think having him like trying to build a relationship with his son as his way of making him a better person, even though it's just like one aspect of his life is like a dad.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for me because I didn't care about the son either.
It didn't work for me either.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't he just be good to be good too? But even then, it just wasn't working.
But when the son showed up, it felt like it was like halfway through the movie at that point. It felt like they added a character arc because they were like, oh, we need.
I was like, oh god, we forgot the kid.
Yeah, you're like, oh wait, every '90s thing, what happens in every like '90s Christmas movie? They're like,
you leave your kid at home.
They leave the kid at home. I was like, I'm always working, and you're like, oh, Dad, you're never around. I remember 9 Lives with Kevin Spacey. I remember the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, which this one takes heavily from, by the way.
Thanks a lot. Because I mean, I don't know, how often can you do Christmas movies without having a Santa being like separated from everybody?
9 Lives is not a Christmas movie, by the way. That's just that like dad '90s trope of like, oh, I'm not near my.
Kevin Spacey's a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Where it's just like, oh, I gotta learn my lesson and hang out with my kids.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
I've seen it. I don't remember it. It was not good. But that's another thing. Like, this just is constantly taking from different things. And I mean, not there's not a whole lot of new stories to be told anymore necessarily. It's just about how you tell them. But that leads me to wanting to talk about a bigger issue I have with streaming movies, with not necessarily superhero movies, but the state of what blockbusters are right now.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell you that my biggest complaint with this movie feels not even necessarily tied into the movie itself. It's this thing that I am getting really, really tired of, this action hybrid thing where none of it works. And The Rock, I feel, has to do with that. But like, The Rock's going to be my own like criticism in a second. And they all feel the same. Mm-hmm. They're not funny. They don't try to be funny either, which I think is super weird. Yeah. You said that this movie is not funny. I agree with you. But the other thing is, I feel like it barely attempts to tell jokes in the first place.
Well, it's just the fact that all these characters trying to have a relationship with one another, and it doesn't feel like they're in the same room.
No, and that's going to be like, because I want to talk about the production of this movie and what I'm aware of, specifically, like, because we keep talking about, like, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
And I've seen Ghosted. We have reviewed Red Notice. Yes. We hated it when it came out. Good. I think that movie's worse than this. I do think that this one is at least, attempting. Yeah. And
well, I think in Red Notice, there's moments where I'm like, I did not like that. I hate that.
No, they're just because something tells me that Ryan Reynolds must have been busy with Deadpool or something. Mm-hmm. That's why Chris Evans is here, because you could just feel them like, hey, be like him. And it's not necessarily the character that he plays typically.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can see Chris Evans being quippy and being able to do a character like this, but the fact that he just needs somebody else to do that with him.
No, it's someone that's genuinely funny, and I don't know when The Rock got this idea that he's a funny person.
Not even, he wasn't even being funny in this movie. He was just so straight.
No, he's supposed to be the straight man between the people that are like joking back and forth, but Chris Evans is also supposed to be the straight man. There's no third person.
Yeah.
That's like the wacky person, which I don't know if they needed that to counterbalance both those people.
There should be more of that polar bear.
I'm really irritated about the fact that he's barely in this movie.
Yeah.
But they all feel the same. They all follow this, like... I genuinely... A lot of these movies, and there's even like a thing that they said in the news, that streaming movies, sometimes you can feel when you're supposed to check your phone. There's multiple moments in this where it's just like sort of like lagging along. Really?
No.
I could just, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how long this is, but I do feel like not a lot's happening.
Yeah.
At this particular moment. I think I also hated Ghosted a lot, but also with Chris Evans.
And Ana de Armas?
And Ana de Armas, yeah. And Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, he was in it?
Yeah.
Oh.
More than you might think. They like, because he makes a cameo appearance, but then he keeps making a cameo appearance. And with that, it's just like a collection of all of these things where the action's also never that good.
It's okay.
It's
just when it starts, it also ends so fast.
Yeah, which I don't know if you had anything you outright hated about this movie.
No, I didn't really I didn't have like anything that I was like, I hate this part or I hate this certain scene, or it was just so bland.
Yeah,
to me that I'm just like going through the motions with the movie. It felt like I was The Rock the entire time.
You're like, I don't believe in the spirit of Christmas anymore.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't like kids. I don't believe in kids anymore. Everyone's bad.
He literally did not believe in kids.
I don't see why you like them, Santa.
No, I was a little confused by what his superpower was, because
I guess it was just like one gadget and it's
that was cool. I like that, like as a design choice, and even though it's just stealing from other things, but it's one of those things where like every single compliment I could give is from something else. And also, we will defend the MCU on here. I don't think that they make that many quippy jokes or like, oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like stuff like that. I think the internet over exaggerates that. However, I am tired of movies that try and imitate that thing that was never there in the first place, because there's multiple moments in this where they're trying to make a quip and you're just like, it kind of just is thrown out there in the air.
Dude, tell me what moment, because I can't think of a quip.
There's this one, but the thing is, they're doing that thing where they repeat dialogue, or the thing that happens in front of them they'll say out loud.
Oh.
And
that's... Are you talking about like the Wonder Woman thing?
No, I like that. But,
but isn't that a quip?
I guess it is, but I'm more talking...
the fact that Dwayne Johnson brought it back again, it's like, let me, like...
Oh, yeah.
I want to know if you're the real Chris Evans character.
Yeah.
If you had to bring back a toy, what would it be?
And then he said...
Yeah. And even when that happened, I was like, I was like, okay.
I never found that was funny because I remember I literally complained about that in my head, but then I was just like, well, I mean, how else would he test it?
Like what else?
Yeah. And then they kept on saying like, oh, shapeshifters over and over, but when
it was like hardly any shapeshifters.
Yeah, they just kept establishing these things where I'm like, cool, it's awesome that you got to experience this world that sounds interesting that we're not really seeing all that much of. But it's more whenever they say stuff like, oh, a talking polar bear or whatever, because there's literally one. I'm like, I mean, yeah. It's
whenever I saw the penguins,
I thought that was awesome. I thought that was. Yeah.
I was like, that's so cool.
And they didn't call it out either. They were like a talking penguin. No, they were just kind of like there.
Yeah, I accepted it, and I accepted it.
You know what visual joke I thought was hilarious? What? Whenever they said the trolls were on it, and they were actual trolls. I was just like,
yeah.
I was like, you know what? See, that's funny.
That was funny. That was funny.
There was an action scene I actually did kind of hate, though. It's when I was like, I don't think...
Which one?
The very first one. When... It's because I don't think a movie with this budget should ever look like this. Mm-hmm. When they're doing the snowmobile chase thing at the beginning, whenever they're like, we lost Red One, and...
Oh, yeah.
The Rock jumps off something, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. And, I mean, that didn't look great either.
Yeah. There were just multiple moments whenever... Because I was kind of on board for the whole thing for a while, up until the action actually started happening. Oh. And then I was just like, oh, this is what we're doing. And I don't know. There was just a lot about it that I was kind of like, I don't think this is the movie that... Not that you're like, oh, this isn't the one I wanted because we got to review like the thing that we got.
Yes.
But the thing itself... It can't quite pick either or. Like, it's not... If you said it's an action movie, it's not a good action movie. If you said it's a comedy, it doesn't make enough jokes to even be...
I mean, it's a Christmas movie because it's set around Christmas.
Yeah. Like, by that logic, of course. Yeah. And then it's about someone who lost their Christmas cheer, because there's a lot of those as well.
That's every Christmas movie.
That's every Christmas movie, yeah.
I don't have the spirit anymore.
And then they're like, if our engines don't work. And then... That's Elf, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, dude. Elf is so good.
Elf is incredible. It's just like, I'm also really... I want to clarify something. I'm very easy on Christmas movies. I like Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh, I haven't seen those. They all look the same to me.
They are all the same, but they're all like goofy enough. But here's the difference.
I love a goofy movie. An extremely goofy movie, too.
I didn't think you liked the extremely goofy movie.
No, I like both of them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I mean, I love the first one more. I'll say that.
To me, a goofy movie is just a movie because.
Is that the joke?
No.
Oh, I'm still waiting for the second joke.
We're never going to talk about the goofy movie.
No, I'm talking about the second joke.
Oh, I don't know. But is there anything else that...
I guess I won't Red Notice.
That's a different movie.
Oh, yeah, but...
Is there anything else that kind of stood out to you here, or really at all?
That was bad?
Yeah.
Like, that was a straight... It's not good.
Bad, yeah.
Let's get to the shots. Because you get so off. Oh
okay,
my God.
So
let's just get to the projection.
We gotta talk about two separate things here. And do you want to start with the shots themselves or why they are the way they are?
Let's start. Okay, the shots themselves, because I think you get to the point where you're watching a lot of movies and or like just TV shows.
We also do filmmaking stuff. I want to clarify this as well. Like,
and you can tell, and like when we talked about like relationships with the other characters, like chemistry, and you can tell that Chris Evans was just most likely not talking to The Rock
really
often,
ever, yeah,
because there are so many shots in this movie that he was looking at a certain way and The Rock was looking at a different way. And same thing with J.K. Simmons, because in the very beginning of the movie, I was talking to him about where J.K. Simmons and The Rock were just in the same vehicle. They were supposed to be in the same vehicle,
yeah.
But they had one shot where it was just zoomed in on like J.K. Simmons, and the other shot with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and the dialogue exchange, like the tone of it was not on the same level whatsoever.
No, notice it immediately, because they're even like at the end of that scene, the exact one you're talking about, they dub over some
where they're in the car driving away,
and I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, why wouldn't they just showcase him saying that?
Yeah.
And I was like,
no, I'm like, I get it, like I know filmmaking, like,
I know filmmaking,
but something else that distracted the fuck out of me is I was explaining to him before we started recording. If you haven't seen this movie and you didn't give a fuck about like spoilers and you're going to see it, please pay attention to how often Chris Evans is like a few feet away from The Rock or behind him or following him from a different shot.
Or like the shot's like right behind The Rock and it's like probably a double of him. And it's right here and it's like just a Chris Evans right there.
There's in an introductory scene when they meet each other, there's like this line where Chris Evans, who's a great actor by the way, so like I know that he must have not been acting against anything if I felt that. It was weird because I know how good of an actor he is. We both know that. But there's a line and he's like, I'm going to like you the least. And it looks like he's talking to no one. And then it pans to a different shot of The Rock and the continuity's fucked because he's somewhere else.
It's just so... It's one of those things like once you see it, it's so hard to unsee any of those, like just like the edits and the shots of it too.
No, because I'm sure they did the Phantom Menace technique or the Attack of the Clones where you can like... have the shot and then trace someone over onto it so it looks like they're in the same place, which I mean, by the way, they never look like they're in the same place because there's even in the trailer, I remember when it was first coming out, I thought that trailer was a fun trailer. I haven't seen it more than like the twice that I saw it because I also never saw it in front of a movie trailer like either in theaters.
I think that's why we thought it was like, oh,
that's why I thought it was streaming. And there's a shot of Chris Evans, they're in some foreign country on a beach. I don't remember what it was, and we just saw it.
I don't know.
And he looks genuinely like just somewhere else. Yeah. And The Rock is like in front of him. And this happens so often in this movie, specifically with those two. Yeah. I doubt they have beef with each other. I just think that like genuinely, because they're doing press junkets and stuff together. And I know what the issue is, and that's going to lead into our next thing. And it's a certain man himself that like is kind of the problem. But with all of that being said, I don't know if like it affected your overall experience here, but I kept thinking, I feel like I would have been easier on this if they just at least had shown that they like were talking to each other at least a little bit, even if the chemistry was just a bit more present.
But I think the fact that if it was shown that the chemistry was there, the movie itself would have been like, I would have liked it a little bit more. Because
it would have been fun, at least. You know when it was most distracting to me? It was right at the end. It was when it's at its most obvious. When they're all in the sleigh. And The Rock's like staring, and then they never show them like in the same place. And then Chris Evans is talking to the kid, and you're just sort of like, are they in the same spot or not? Definitely not. No. I don't know if there's anything else that sort of like affected you that felt like that too.
No, that was the one thing that was bothering me the most. Yeah. Because after, like, once you notice it, it was hard for me not. Like, I was like, is that it? Yeah, that is. I was like, there's no way.
It's such a weird.
I was happy whenever there was a wide shot and it's all of them together.
No, because you're like, hey,
there's
I guess
no way.
That day.
They were all together.
Somebody must have shown up on time that day.
Who are you calling out?
Which is going to lead me into my next thing. We used to be very big The Rock fans, Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I'm glad that I unfollowed him on all of his social media things because he's very overbearing in terms of his whole like persona.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely posts a lot. So
and the whole thing he said about Oppenheimer and IMAX is so tone deaf and like unaware. And I get it, you want to market your movie, but I remember back whenever he used to do the whole like, this is for the fans. This is.
Bro, I don't even know anymore. Yeah. The way that was just used over and over again for Black Adam, and I'm like thinking, who loves Black Adam so much?
No, it's like as someone who's a huge DC fan, I'm not gonna say that I am because really, who? Yeah. Have your thoughts on The Rock really changed at all over the past couple of years, or?
I don't know. I think it's just catching up to him. Yeah. Like he says he's the hardest worker in the room and like tries to produce so many movies and tries to be in so many movies that's now starting to like bleed through in the movies that he's in. Yeah. So you can tell that he's like either half-assing it or if he says a contract that he has to sign for it too, knowing that he does bring in a crowd, or I don't know if he used to. So
he used to. This did not do well this weekend. It made like $34 million, which I'm aware every other movie that'd be amazing, but this has a $250 million budget, which is like, for what? Why? Yeah. And Like, it looks ugly half the time, and don't get me wrong, some of the prosthetics and stuff still amazing.
Oh yeah.
But with him,
hey, I like that chicken.
I like that joke too. It referenced something. I feel like that was like an actual mythological creature because of the name that they gave it, but I couldn't quite
I don't know.
remember.
That was funny. But
I also like the way those hellhound things look too.
Oh yeah.
But with him, I am like, I can't push Pain and Gain anymore to defend him. I just can't do it.
Hey, remember that he's coming out with a movie with A24?
But that A24 thing. And also, Chris Evans has been on a weird streak of just being in shit like this.
But lately. I don't know. It's either Chris Evans has been in bad movies or very meh, okay movies.
He's not The Rock, at least. The Rock oversaturated the market with himself.
Yeah.
And
he has a own production company, right?
Yeah, and they produced this movie.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he was allowed to be late all the time, because it's called $7 production. I know the whole story. He had $7 in his pocket, and then that's all he had to his name is what he said. But he's just genuinely there's no excusing it anymore, and I don't even know if it affected the quality of this movie itself. It is written by Chris Morgan, who wrote 7 of the Fast and Furious movies. It's directed by Jake Kasdan, who directed both of those Jumanji movies.
I did like the Jumanji movies.
Yeah, I do too. And one of my favorite movies ever, Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story. So I know there's a level of talent there. So you're just sort of well, what's the thing? What's missing here? And I do think part of it is him. And there's so many production stories about Fast and Furious where he didn't get along with Vin Diesel because apparently he would show up late all the time. Yeah. And the whole ego thing where he's not allowed to lose. I mean, I get it. I mean, if I was him, I would also put that in my contract. Not allowed to lose a fight.
I can't lose.
No, genuinely. But here's the thing: knowing that,
but you're Black Adam, you're a bad guy.
You're supposed to lose fights and stuff. But genuinely knowing that, whenever they show the whole Krampus thing with the slap fight, which is but I'm I know he's gonna get out of it because I know that it's in his fucking contract that he
Yeah, it kind of sucks knowing the outside sources affecting movies that.
So part of me is what part of me is critiquing the movie itself, and what part of me is critiquing the fact that this feels like a product more than a movie.
Yes.
And that's basically my issue with it at the end of the day. This feels more like a public branding thing than it does really a movie that is constructed to, just be a story, really. Yeah. And that's the thing that gets on my nerves the most typically. I'll deal with a shitty movie all day, but if it feels like corporate, then I don't like it at all.
That makes sense.
And I don't know if did you feel that way about it?
No, but, I understand that when watching Michael Bay movies with product placements and everything. I didn't get that. I just thought this movie was just pushed, and it was just you know what, this movie is kind of half made. Let's just push it out.
Yeah.
So that's how it felt.
And our main star kind of made us be in this position basically, in the first place. Yeah. But overall, I guess I gotta ask you, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely had more negatives, but the negatives were just very, I was just disappointed.
Yeah.
Majority of it though, just because I did like the fact that they brought in so many mythical, stories into it as well.
What would you say you would give it out of
2.5?
2.5.
5, yeah.
Are you gonna change your score too? Because I don't
know if I had it. I think I had it at 3.
I did too.
But I was nah, I'll probably do 2.
It was one of those things I got out of it, and overall I don't think I really liked it. Yeah. I liked parts of it. I was trying to gauge. I was would I mind if this was just on TV? No, not really. I would just sort of tune it out and then pay attention to the couple oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But overall, I think I'm also gonna give this a 2.5 out of 5. We were not so big on this.
Maybe if it was on Netflix, I would be
No, you know what I was thinking? If it was genuinely on Prime and we reviewed it, I'd probably be I don't know, 3.5 out of 5.
No, I'm probably still giving the same score, but I'd probably be you know what? It was streaming, so it's okay.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We're going to have one brief thing we're going to do really quick. We're going to start doing shout outs under our comments. So what I'm going to ask you do is, if you could please either just tell us what you think of the movie or tell us what you think of just us in general. That'd be great.
How are you going to pronounce that one?
So they already told me what to say here.
Okay.
So this one is his name is Cool Guy James, and he said, "What's up? Finished Foot job demon.
That's not what it says whatsoever. I don't know what you're reading.
Foot job demon.
That's not whatsoever. I don't know what you're reading.
Okay, it's
dude. What?
It says, "What's up?"
Okay, that's it. That's all it says.
Foot job demon.
Why? It doesn't say that.
Finish. This isn't our talk to me review. Yes, it does. It's right
I'm
there.
not gonna talk to you if you say that one more time.
Thank you, cool guy James, for your comment.
That's not even his username either, dude.
He said that.
It's just. That's what it is.
Anyway, guys, if you want to be shouted out,
that's not even
here,
a name, guys.
Please,
what are you doing?
please go ahead and do it. What are they gonna do?
Foot job demon?
Yeah.
There was nowhere. Those words were not there.
It was right there. No, yes, it was.
Dude.
Yes, it was.
They're gonna like, comment. If you're gonna comment, make sure your username's right. Something that I can pronounce and subscribe.
Please do. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. What's up next?
I don't know.
We're going to have a full review for you.
Isn't every review full?
The Penguin season.
That doesn't make sense. Is that your joke?
Guys.
Is that your joke? I'm still missing the second joke.
Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We will see you next time.
So I sat where Chris sat. I watched Oppenheimer. It was amazing. But I was thinking, holy shit. This thing, Red 1 on this screen with this technology, it's going to be game over.